All right, y'all. Welcome to Matches and Mayhem, where this week we're unpacking Summer House Season 9's super explosive premiere, from Jesse's wildly awkward pickup lines to Carl and Lindsay. Spoiler alert. This will be a huge spoiler alert. We've got it all. So, who's stirring the pot? Who's stirring their cocktails? And can we talk about the
Who's
real
busting
drama?
out the lover boys?
Yes, it's not just this northeast weather that's stormy this season. So grab your lover boys. We're diving right into the chaos of episode 1. This is coffee, by the way.
This is an Irish coffee in a Mexican mug
I
because
love it.
diversity.
Hey,
DEI hasn't come to this podcast yet.
let's jump in. I'm going to start 15 minutes into the episode where Lindsay reveals her pregnancy. She arrives at the house with this like super massive but really cute ultrasound picture. It was definitely like a 12 by 24. I thought the toast was very awkward. At first I'm like, it started off cute. And then it just got too long.
You know what it was? You know how like at the end of the year you get your Spotify Wrapped and like everything you listen to? Lindsay gave us her Spotify wrap of her dating. It's her Tinder wrap of her dating history for the last decade. Like, girl,
Yo, but I forgot how fucking funny these people she dated were. I'm gonna sleep in a bed with a guy, in the bed with a guy.
her line was like, I dated a guy who wanted me to be a feast housewife and get him sandwiches all damn day. Like, okay.
Yo,
Um,
yo. But let's talk about this. Is it too soon? Was it too soon? What was the announcement too soon? Was pregnancy too soon?
um, I'll be honest. I don't think it's too soon. This is what she wants. She wants a family and she wants to be with a guy who's not fucking around. And by all accounts, it seems like she's with a stable dude who maybe is in the same, I don't mean, we wouldn't know, but seems like it's in the same place. If this is what she wants, then it's not too soon. And I think, given the last couple seasons and, her failed pregnancy, unfortunately, and how that affected her, and now she seems really happy with this. If it makes her happy, not too soon at all. The engagement of Carl, that felt way too soon. But this, we know she's wanted for a long time. So I don't know if I'm on kind of a small list of people who are like, I'm cool with it, but I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I don't think it's too soon at all. To your point, she's wanted this. Every relationship, she went in there like, I want a kid, I want to be married, I want to be a mom. I don't think it's too soon for someone that didn't really love their partner. It would be too soon for Carl. Like, if I'm like, oh my God, because he really loved her and he saw a future. She saw this as like a business transaction. It's like, yes, you love me, I love you, great. But to have been like deeply in love with Carl, we all saw from previous seasons, the things that she would say to him, that's not love. So, no, it's not too soon.
I'm not gonna armchair psychologist Lindsay. From the like some of the things that she's revealed about her growing up, I don't think there's a deeply madly in love with her. I think she's pretty practical about this stuff, and it seems like she's able to separate whether she's with this guy long term or short term. I think she's comfortable having the baby on her own. She wants to start her own family and feels comfortable enough, it seems like, with this guy that he could be the father, whether the relationship lasts or not. I think she's just practical. She's at that age where these things can become harder. So I'm all for it. Like, sometimes life takes you certain routes. If it doesn't happen the storybook way, that doesn't mean you can't write your own story and it'd be just fine. So I'm cool with it.
Let's transition then into Carl's return, right? I could feel it inside me how anxious and uncomfortable that he was, even like knowing that she was in the same space. I feel for him. How I know we don't want to get into psychology too much, but like, should we be worried about him navigating this new dynamic with Lindsay? I can say I'm a little bit worried for him. Not necessarily that, oh my God, he's going to relapse now, whatever. It has nothing to do with that. I know that it's tough to still be healing and like living with the person that like did this to you. And even if he's over it, quote unquote, he's over her, he doesn't want to be with her. I don't think that you still relive a lot of traumas, and that is the part that like he might have trouble dealing with.
I mean, they're the opposites. Lindsay, I don't believe I believe she's moved on. Like, because I think she's just that, like I said, practical and more. I believe she's moved on. I don't want to say it's like it's not a mean or cold hearted thing. Those are the words that it's more of, I'm done with this. This doesn't serve me no more. On to the next. Carl is a little more sensitive. He's shown that things can get to him in the past. Luckily now, or not luckily, through hard work, he doesn't use alcohol or drugs as a way to get by. And now it's just like, the reason we worry is like, okay, what do you do? How does he deal with these things so it doesn't affect him for so long? But part of it is, I don't think it's like he still has feelings for her. I think it's more of, what can I say to get through this so that she doesn't get triggered and then pull me into this like whirlwind. I think he's afraid of saying the wrong thing, coming off the wrong way, and getting into fights. He doesn't want it to be uncomfortable, but now like he's being placed in the most uncomfortable position, and he doesn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
I mean, the producer said, who would know how to deal with it?
It's a little bit of that. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I also think when you don't get and you didn't get any validation in your relationship, it's still going to hurt you if you haven't had the closure. Plus, like all of, in his words, like a lot of the lies that she put out there in the media. So it's uncomfortable all around. And it's also kind of hurtful when you're hurting and then the person is like super happy with their life and like, what about me? Like you haven't said sorry, you haven't taken accountability for how you made me feel and all this stuff. So I think that is the part that is the most uncomfortable, that he'll never get that validation and that closure. And he just has to deal with it. And again, he chose to be on Summer House, so I'm not like, he could leave at any time, but he also chose to be here, so that should speak for something. And you also mentioned that like she's ready to move on. Like she moved on, she closed this chapter, whatever. But that has been Lindsay for a decade that we've seen her. Even with the relationship with Danielle, she's not the one to say, I'm sorry for what I did. She's never been that person. Everyone is like a business transaction. What can you do to me for me? What can I do for you? Nothing, great. Let's just move on.
All right. So we're about almost 10 minutes in, and I've put my thoughts out there. Women's bodies, women's choices, all for it. Now, let me go in on this lady. What's going to piss me off about this season, because I'm already seeing shades about it, is, yes, she's moved on romantically. She's moved on, I think, emotionally, but she's not moved on vindictively. She wants to hurt Carl for what the embarrassment of being broken up with on television from an engagement. And so what is going to piss me off this season is her holding this pregnancy over his head as a way to get back at him. I know she's going to do it because we know how low she's gone. Case in point, she waited like till the day before he's coming to the house to announce it to everybody, to put it on social media right away.
I think
oh my gosh.
she went straight upstairs. She didn't call her boo. She hit submit. She hit send.
Submit. She's had that drafted for weeks. She's had that drafted for weeks. PR has gone through it. Marketing has gone through it. They got the photo shoot done.
For real. It was vetted by Gabby because I'm sure, Gabby's not her assistant in life, I guess.
Oh yeah. I was like, since when did they allow assistants on the show? But
I mean, this girl keeps following her around the house. Like, is that going to be all season? It's super cringe because it's exactly what Danielle did. And it's exactly what people do to Lindsay. And I'm like, why does she have this hold on people that they have to like seek her?
I'm not going to put Danielle, and Gabby on the same plane. Danielle was Lindsay's best friend. They were a pair. That's what she thought until the season that they like butted heads. And she's like, oh, we weren't like a team. You thought I was your bitch. Danielle at least had her own like personality and like on the show, like her own arc on the show. I've yet to see Gabby's arc on the show. She needs to work on that. It can't just be like, you look great, you've been working out, and you're just going to follow Lindsay around and be her supportive sister. Nah, do something. Actually, no, let me take that back. My favorite thing for her on the show was her not giving a fuck, going to sleep wherever she was sleeping. Like, it was a short thing. Like, let's see more of that. Let's, like, who are these guys? Who's on the roster? Invite them to parties. Invite more than one to the party. Have them fight over you. We see you fighting Danielle and losing for a dude's attention.
Yeah.
We want to see you. I'm going to be so upset on how Lindsay weaponizes her situation against Carl. Because I just see her doing that. It's already, like, vibes of that.
When Carl like ran to the bathroom to take a few deep breaths, it was like cringe, but
I need him to do a meditation, do his chants, more life, and just like pull it together. I want more life, Carl, minus the drinking back.
let's talk about West and Ciara. So after their like super rocky breakup, but should we even call it a breakup because they weren't really exclusive or whatever? Fallout, let's call it a fallout. Ciara just like very smooth, classy way. He went to hug her and she pushed his hand away. What do we make of this? How do we want this to go for them two?
Okay, I want a reconciliation by the end of the summer, similar to Carl and Danielle, where it wasn't meant to be, and then they become best friends, because aside from them hooking up, they were actually hilarious on the show together. They were fun. So I want a reconciliation. We need West just to eat his vegetables. He needs to eat his vegetables. He just needs to take the attitude and just be like, let it run its course. And Ciara needs to just cool off. The double talk, it's just like her saying, I don't give a fuck, but then like doing all these things. It's just like, some growth, Ciara. She says she's in her toddler phase. I'm like, come on, let's grow up a little bit from that.
I'm going to say this. I don't think a reconciliation is even possible because when you are in this spotlight and the person you were with goes on like a really widely known, reputable magazine and talks all this shit about you, it's kind of hard to bounce back from that. Like, even if he does say sorry, it's like now all these millions of people read it. Like, this is a narrative you created. This is what people believe about us and our relationship. And so I think that undoing that is going to be very difficult and is not going to make her feel comfortable. You know, when the producers asked her, were you hopeful for something? I'm sure she wanted to say yes, but millions of people are watching you and you don't want to look stupid again. It's hard to bounce back from what Wes said.
Yeah, y'all gonna make me defend the boy here. Y'all gonna make me defend my guy. Okay. You said talking shit. I didn't read the New York Times piece, but there's two things I want to say about it. One is, if West is going to do any interviews, any promo for the show, and he's kind of like he's a journalist, which just means he's an influencer out there talking about sports and things like that. And he goes on these interviews, the first thing that they're going to ask him about is the relationship with Ciara, because that was his main arc. So I understand that she's like ticked off that he keeps talking about it, but whenever she does, I mean, I guess she hasn't done a lot of promos and stuff because she's been doing Traders, which we're potting about. Make sure to tune into the Traders pod, like and subscribe. Maybe she hasn't done as much as him, but I'm sure if she would have done the whole Summer House is coming back, they would have asked her the same things. They would have asked her about West, and he's the breakout star from last season, so like he's doing a lot of promo. But the second thing is, when they say he was talking shit, it didn't seem like he was talking shit. He was just like saying, here's what happened. I don't think he blamed her. It didn't seem like that. And in the whole article that they showed, or like the piece of the article, it was like 2 lines like that they showed out of like a long piece. So unless the whole thing, and I didn't read it. I'm not gonna lie. They're not getting my money. Like, was the whole article about what happened with Ciara, or was it just talking about him and one of the questions was about?
I don't think the entire article was about her and the relationships. I have a lot of thoughts on this. Number one, He got a platform to speak about the relationship before Ciara did. Maybe because she was doing traders, maybe not. But you can do things virtual nowadays. You don't need to be on a set with New York Times to talk about something. Sandoval also got a platform to talk about Ariana, and Ariana did it. So like, well, Ariana got a lot of deals and stuff after that.
And she ain't stopped talking
But
since that show ended.
the other thing too, Ciara was super, super vocal from day one, her intentions with him and what she wanted his intentions to be with her. She didn't sleep with him for months and months and months. And then a few weeks to a month after you sleep together, all of a sudden the relationship ran its course. I have a problem with that. So the talking shit is basically one, you never told her. She found out through the New York Times article, like what his thought was instead of going to her directly and saying yada yada yada, whatever. He wasn't transparent with her, and she had to find out through a New York Times article that, like, oh, he's really just not interested in me. Which, when a ton of people read this before you even know these guys' like motives and stuff, that's the part that's hard. And again, I just have an issue that she was super vocal about. And it's not that hard to tell a journalist that asks you something or a reporter, I don't wish to speak about this. Let's move on to like something else. If the article is really about West, like breakthrough moment in on TV in Summer House, he could have like respected her and just not have said something like that before he told her.
There's a fine line between was he just playing her and trying to get in her pants, and was like the relationship going to a place where he just like wasn't willing to go. I
I
mean,
know
he
exactly.
brought her home
Yeah.
to the parents. You know, they spent a lot of time together. To paint it in a way, at least for me, where it's just like he just was like there was an end game. Let me sleep with her and then I'm good. Is rough. I do agree that he definitely said things in the article that he never told her to her face, and that is a slap in the face. Like, to not be as transparent, then saying like we just weren't the people for each other. I didn't see myself with her. Here's the thing though. I also saw last season that I get that she has an angle in mind, like the next person she's with, she wants to be with forever. I think that's tough. That's a tough way to go into relationships, especially with a young dude who's just on TV and in Summer House, and his like eyes are now open to the world, and that
Yeah.
was doomed from the start. And I get it. She doesn't have to separate her feelings, from that reality. She can have her feelings. I also think if he wants to say what he said on TV, I mean, or on the New York Times about how he felt the relationship, he has that right to as well. Is it messed up that he didn't tell her first? Yeah, but that doesn't mean like if somebody asks him and he's like, well, here's how I feel about the things, he's entitled to. I don't think it's just talking about her. I think it's talking about himself as well. And that's where I'll leave it. I think he came out more wrong than right. I'm not going to say like it was
Hmm.
justified, but just eat your vegetables, man. Take the unpleasantness.
To say like the relationship ran its course is like classic avoidance strategy to not own up to the bullshit.
Just last thing. Can two things be true? Where it's like he was really into her, but also his life changed,
1,000
and was
percent.
just like, I'm not ready to settle down now because, and it's not even just about, oh, I could sleep with so many new girls. It's also is like, I saw him at like the All-Star game for MLB. Like he went from not having a job to being a host of like the MLB.
Hmm.
Like his world changed, and he wasn't just gonna turn down opportunities to like be the good boyfriend. And
I
is
agree.
that messed up a little? If you couldn't be honest about that, yes. But I also think there was a chemistry there that
And if that's the truth, because two things can be true. Yes, he's super into her, met the parents, did all the things right. And then this a new world opened for him where, you know what, he's not that ready to fully commit. But tell her and don't tell the New York Times. And then tell the New York Times after you tell her if you choose. Just don't blindside someone. That's it.
what
Um,
he should have been doing in the New York Times is talking about his real relationship from last season on the show. The real romance that he had last season on the show that's
oh,
spilling over to this season.
it's spilling over to this season, and it seems like it's gonna get a little interesting.
And he seems like the one
Missed.
who's being like shoved to the side.
Yeah, we saw that right away. So we're talking about Mr. Solomon and Wes. How his heart was broken when Jesse wanted to like sleep in his own room.
He's like,
He's like, this one has a bathroom,
I'd
or you
rather
can just
walk to the
walk. Like, hello.
Jesse. If there's one thing that any dude has to be jealous about, it's not the height, it's not the charm. Well, it's sort of the charm. It's the fact that he can say the most like crazy thing and then just flash the big smile like it's all good though, right? And people are like, okay, I guess. Like, you're a stupid girl, right?
Yo,
He didn't go that far, but
like, I mean, I feel like is the clumsy flirtation a thing now? It's just like you can just say crazy things, be clumsy with it, and that's like the vibe. I don't know. I'm not into the dating world, but seems like that's what's happening. Interestingly, Jesse's very much flirting with Ciara right off the bat. We saw a little bit of that last season. I mean, when he went to hug her, he's like, "Oh, you look great."
they kissed while her and West were kind of
Oh
becoming a
yeah.
thing. Just like you could just say, oh, we're just joking around to make West jealous, but they kissed.
Mm, they definitely kissed. So I'm like, I can't wait to get the popcorn out for this season with Jesse and Ciara. But I don't think Ciara should put all her eggs in one basket with Jesse at all. Like,
I don't think
but I
she
think she
should
just,
date anybody in the house. But here comes Lexi. Do I hear New Girls music? Like, that's going to be interesting.
that is going to be interesting. What do you, well, it's not just Lexi that's new. It's Lexi and Bailey, right? That's her name?
Bailey, yeah.
Lexi and Bailey.
Come on. Now, don't do her like that.
No, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure. I think she's great. I think Lexi totally is fitting right in compared to last seasons of Summer House, where like some of the girls had a really tough time sort of integrating into the house. So if anyone remembers, like Paige and Hannah, they came in, dynamic duo, crushing it, shook things up, amazing. Ciara had a hard time also jumping in and like integrating. We also had Danielle who had a hard it took a while for to warm up the house to warm up to these girls, but it seems like Lexi and Bailey just like amazing. They fit right in, integrated well. It seems like they've all been friends for a long time. So the question that I want to post here is like, what does that say about the house? Is it that now they're a little bit more grown up, so there isn't this much like mean girl energy? Um, or is it the vibes that they're just bringing in?
Originally, it was a little bit clicky between like the original cast or like the earlier generation cast. Then kind of you had the new people coming in. So there were two cliques. Like there was the Paige and Hannah clique and then the Kyle, Carl, Lindsay clique. And then you had some people in between. And those people that kind of got caught in between, if you didn't have a solid relationship in the house, it was tough for them. So when Ciara came in, it was like she came in with Luke, and Luke himself was kind of a floater, and it was tough for her at first to integrate because she wasn't initially in the Giggly Squad, and she was trying to make these relationships work. And Ciara was just good at if always a singular person, so she can find her own storyline, and that's half the battle. Part of it is you form the relationships, and part of it is forming a storyline on the show that'll work because we've seen many cast members in recent seasons like who Jordan tried to fabricate a storyline like he was this big like woman like
Hmm.
getter or whatever. I don't know, like that's the worst, woman getter. He was a big hookup guy, and that
Yeah.
obviously didn't he was weird. And you had Chris from a couple of seasons ago who came in solo, and
You had Maya Kwame's, the Top Chef Kwame's ex,
Maya, who
Maya.
she struggled to form her own kind of identity and story arc on the show because she kind of wasn't that person who wanted to create a story, and she was just hoping like she would like just her friendships would be enough. Same thing with Chris, his bromances would be enough with the other guys, and you have to bring something to the table. It's a lot easier when you have somebody coming in with you, but if you're coming on your own, it's tough. You have to both get in with the people in the house, but also with the fans. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that brings me to another point, right? So it seems like we're in consensus where it's better coming into the house knowing someone, and it's easier to fit in that way because you have people that can vet for you and how cool you are, how fun you are. This brings me to like a really funny thought that I had watching the show is Paige's bed being like this symbol of house loyalty. It's like the bed represents these, and I'm thinking also the challenge and all these other shows that we watch. Make sure to subscribe because we pod about that too. The bed representing these alliances. So who shares it, who visits it, who never gets an invite. Hannah and Paige sort of created this bed as like the headquarters. This is where, they unleash about the drama. They're super vulnerable in this space. Guys rarely get invited, and when they do, again, it's you got to be cool to join the bed. Does the bed squad operate in this way that I imagine?
You could see it in last night's episode when somebody's in, they're in, and he got into bed last season, but this season for it just to be Ciara, Paige, and now Jesse Solomon got into he's peeing in their bathroom. It's like, yes, you've been indoctrinated. You're one of us now. I think part of it is just sharing experiences and genuine experiences that bring them together. Like him going through his cancer journey last season. And that was a pivot point for him where he was just a guy who was trying to hit on Paige, even though she had a boyfriend and he well knew to actually let me be vulnerable and share who I actually am in my life.
Yeah.
He's in the bed squad now, 100%. West is got in the bed squad last season. What's funny is like I haven't seen Carl in the bed for a while ever since he was with Lindsay because like it's kind of like you're excommunicated a little bit. Like that's a real thing. That's a place of congregation. All the girls are in there. And then when the guys get to go in there too, it's just like next level. We're like a close knit family.
Yeah. So the way I imagine it is just like instead of early morning coffee debriefs, it's like, okay, late night recaps. But then I'm also thinking about like people congregate in the kitchen. And when those that congregate in the kitchen are usually not in the bed. It's just like, it's like a flex to be on that bed, man. I want to be on the bed. And I used to talk so much shit about Hannah and Paige being on the bed, but now I'm like, fuck, I want to be on the bed.
Yeah, no, that definitely. But you know who I feel like, Amanda, I feel like penetrated that force field is like, because sometimes when when she was in her relationship with Kyle, she wasn't always like, it was like her and Kyle. But then when she started getting into the bed, and it was like, no, I don't care if y'all bitches are besties. I'm getting in this bed too with you.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, no, the floodgates open and it's like, no, we're all cool here. I'm your friend too. I'm getting into bed. So I feel like Amanda was the first to penetrate that giggly squad force field around the bed. So like, nah, we're all in here. And you know what's funny? Last season, they gave Paige and Ciara the master bedroom, well knowing that like, let's give them the biggest bed because we know, we're all going to be in here getting on this bed.
Yeah, I love that. It's like you mentioned Jesse's story with his cancer situation and everything. So it is a safe space. It's gossip headquarters. It's loyalty lies, and I feel like it's the ultimate power seat. I don't know.
No, that's not the ultimate power seat.
No,
The ultimate
not the
power
bed.
seat is who's allowed to touch the music on the speakers, and only Kyle is allowed and allows no one else.
Thank goodness he got rid of that mullet. That mullet was not it. It was not it.
He's going from his country phase to his EDM phase, Mr. DJ.
Listen, he's growing. He's maturing. He came home 10 minutes before
Everybody,
his friends.
he filled the Stanleys up. He filled the Stanleys up.
He filled the Stanleys up. So props to Kyle.
Growth. We kind of just like raced through the new girls, but what'd you think?
I thought they were great. I think, I mean, watching Summer House for 9 seasons, I wasn't necessarily like bored of the cast. Like I love the cast, but we needed, I'm sorry, Danielle, but like Danielle ended up becoming, different, and so this brings an energy that like keeps up with the house. It like their energy matches the Summer House energy, and I don't think Danielle did that. the last few seasons, which is fine. But I for TV, as a viewer, I just misery loves company type of thing. So I love Lexi. I think and Bailey. My coffee is getting cold.
Hard disagree. I miss Danielle. I miss Danielle. And one thing I will say, nothing against the new girls, but one thing that always set Summer House apart was that these weren't all just influencers. Kyle is an entrepreneur. Carl was going through it with his job search, and I think when he got with Lindsay, he became an influencer. And I was just like, but what happened? You were an entrepreneur, and Danielle was always like, I work hard and party harder. Like I love that about the cast, that they actually had shit going on outside of the show. So they weren't coming to the show just to, get their name bigger so they can do these partnerships, Lindsay, that they were coming to the show to party hard, because during the week weekday, business people, weekend warriors. Like I always liked that vibe of the show. And so I even like that. I don't know how much nursing Ciara still does, but just the fact that she is a nurse, like, is cool. Like,
For sure. Yeah.
but the more models you bring into the house, the more influencers you bring into the house. I think sometimes that fucks with the personality of the show a little bit. And that's what I point at Vanderpump, when we know none of those fucking people were serving unless they were going to be on camera. And it just happens that you had like crazy ass people, but this show felt different. So I miss Danielle, but I'm just going to say that.
I totally agree with you. What made the show truly successful in my eyes is that they were super relatable. So here we are. We're not influencers. We work our 9 to 5. Like, and that's why I love the show so much. I think with Danielle specifically, I think that it was taking a toll on her. So the energy she brought to the house was not the energy that I necessarily wanted to see over and over again. And
But I
so,
blame Lindsay for that. I blame Lindsay for banning her as her friend, especially when she just got broken up with because the guy she was with put his career over her. That was a devastating year for Danielle, and we got barely any of it because it all was focused on Lindsay, which was the point. Like, I know she had a weird season that season, and then it spilled over into Winter House, where she got way too attached to a dude way too quick. Rough year for her, and I think that's why she decided, I need some time off TV.
yeah,
So I agree. Like, her last seasons weren't cute, but I kind
yeah.
of understand why, and she never got the chance to really let people know why.
I agree. I would love to see her come back on a future season. Like, I'm not saying she should be replaced forever, but I do think it was a great decision and a healthy one for her to step back. And she's doing great. You made a point about like influencers. Unfortunately, I do think that this world has become super saturated with influencers. There aren't people that are doing their 9 to 5 that much. There aren't people going into nursing, and if there are and they try out for the show, the producers are just looking for the influencers. And we'll see what happens like in future seasons if that's all they focus on. I probably will stop watching if it becomes super like not relatable again, because that's what made it successful.
Well,
So,
that's why Carl remains probably my favorite cast member throughout the years of the show. Like, when he was in his Lindsay phase, he shifted hard to influencer, and now he's pivoting back to like using the money there that he's used as a celebrity. He still wants to be an entrepreneur. He's opening up his bar, his soft bar.
mhm,
He wants to. He had all these ideas that she shitted on last season. Like, he wants to do something. Like, he still has a drive that he did when we first met him as a salesperson, as an entrepreneur.
mhm.
So I just like those type. I think that's partially why I like this cast. Like, they want to do something other than be on the show and be in
Yeah.
commercials. But
Yeah. And as far as like Lexi is concerned, I'm here for the drama. Like, I'm here to see how she's going to. I mean, this is called Matches and Mayhem. Bring in the mayhem. Let's see what happens with Jesse. Let's see what happens with Ciara and Lexi. Like, I saw that from 10 miles away. I'm like, wait a second. Jesse and Ciara have a history. Let's see where this goes. So yeah.
And I hope
What
Bailey
are
gets
yeah.
more time to shine because we keep saying, what do we think? And then we talk about somebody else. It's first episode, high bar, you know.
Yeah, in our defense, Bailey
They didn't get much
didn't
time.
put herself out there. She didn't get much time, but we're looking forward to getting to know Bailey as well.
I
Um,
like what I see so far. Quirky, different.
yeah, yeah,
She's
yeah,
given like
absolutely.
Danielle vibes early on where she's like, Danielle was kind of quiet too, but got in the mix. So,
Yeah, for sure. Um, any final thoughts?
well, I think it's just like some leftovers here. Paige, we'll see where her season goes. I mean, the spoilers are out there. We know what happened with her and Craig, but I look forward to seeing on the show what happened between them, which is just going to validate what I've been thinking, which is
I know. You've said that for years now.
she was not that into him, but whatever. And then there's one more castmate we haven't met yet.
There is. Yeah.
And they're giving him the douchebag edit. So let's see if there's some redemption there, but doesn't look good so far.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if he was invited on or like by a castmate or he was just like by himself. Let's see.
We know where this goes. The guys who come in saying, I just want to hook up with as many chicks as possible, they don't last because they don't. Jesse, that looked like the way he was going, and then he realized, let me make friends and
Real quick.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
he changed real quick, real quick. Yeah, I mean, overall, I thought the first episode was amazing. I'm excited. I'm excited for Wednesday, so I'm hooked
Thursday.
officially. Thursday.
We're not getting it early, guys. Don't worry. Like we're watching it with you. We gotta wait.
Yep.
We gotta wait for it to land on the peacock. That is.
All right, y'all. Like and subscribe.
Bye.